On this fifth Sunday of Easter, we find ourselves once again at the Last Supper in the gospel that we heard today from the Gospel of John. And this gospel is part of Jesus' farewell discourse to his apostles. Before Jesus suffers and dies for them, Jesus gives them this new commandment to love one another, to love one another as he has loved them. And this is how all will know that they are disciples of Jesus, because of how they love one another. St. Mary, always remember this. The church is the bride of Jesus Christ, and loving God and loving one another is the way that we prepare ourselves to be for the bridegroom when he comes again. Always remember that. And we cannot keep Christ's commandment to love as he loves us by just forcing ourselves, by white-knuckling it, by gritting our teeth and bearing it, trying to imitate Jesus. Love has got to be authentic. Authentic love. Love comes from the soul. And since we cannot comprehend the fullness of God's love for us, we have to do our best that we can with the help of God's grace to love one another. Because it's only through God's grace that we can love with this radical kind of love of Jesus. We have to love like Jesus did, even to the point of loving and sacrificing for those who oppose us, for those who belittle us, and even for those who hate us. That's what radical love is. Loving everyone, even our enemies, you guys. Even loving those who are very difficult to love. You all know what I'm talking about. We all have those people in our lives. Now I want to share with you a Father Dindo story of when I was a kid in grade school. I think it was probably in junior high. I was badly bullied. I was awkward, okay? I was awkward, I was very fat, and I had tons of pimples. I had terrible acne, okay, all over. It was very terrible. And so I had a bully. Does anyone else here have a bully? Okay, I know. You don't have to raise your hand. I know. I see you. It was horrible, okay? There was the name calling, right? If you've ever been bullied. There's the name calling. There's the pranks. People laugh at you. Then getting pushed around. Eventually there's all this mental and physical torture that goes on. And I even remember this guy, okay? He was a neighbor of our family in the subdivision we lived in. Danny Newman, okay? calling you out. I used to call him Poohman, okay? He knows. And one day, it occurred to me that it was so dumb, okay, to keep hating on him, that I should really stand up for myself, okay, and make him stop. And I really wanted to, fight back and, beat the you-know-what out of him, but I remembered the story of my favorite saint. My favorite saint. Father Dindo's favorite saint is Saint Therese of Lisieux. Does anyone know who Saint Therese of Lisieux is? A very wonderful saint. She's also called a doctor of the church because of her little way, and also she is the little flower. So she was also confronted with bullies in her life, especially when she was a young nun in the convent. And there was this really mean nun to her that was really bothering her all the time. And she did something very different, and that's why she's a doctor of the church. She was given this gift of knowing the little way. And what it is that she went out of her way to help and be kind and to love this bully in her life. And this kindness toward this bully in her life changed that bully sister around. She realized the love of God through St. Therese. So one day when I realized this, this guy was being a jerk to me because he probably had something very wrong in his own life, in his family maybe. I kind of had compassion, and I thought that maybe he was being mistreated in some way. Why would he act like this unless he himself was dealing with something? Maybe he was being mean because of what happened to him, and he had to cope with this in his life, and he was just doing the best that he could. So I tried my best to have understanding for him and to have compassion. I decided to practice radical love as Jesus commanded in this gospel today. You know what I did? I gave him my prized possession, my brand new skateboard. I used to be a skateboarder back in the day, and this guy, I said to myself, you give him that. I love giving gifts, but this was a gift that he never expected. The look on his face. I said to him also, I wanted to know you. I want to get to know you, and I want to be your friend, okay? And the look on his face was pure astonishment. Again, he was my neighbor, so we know each other. And you know what? He never, ever bullied me again, and we're still friends up to this day, okay? St. Mary, this is not easy. It's not easy at all to practice this radical love. Again, we have to realize that we ourselves are not the center of the universe. We have to get over the hurt that others have done to us in order to love like Jesus. Remember Jesus said on the cross what he said? He said to the Father, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing, right? Jesus realized that Judas was fulfilling the plan of salvation. And so were the soldiers who crucified him and Pilate who judged him. So the first step is forgiveness. We don't forget. Sometimes we can't ever forget. But we can work toward forgiveness. And the only way forgiveness happens is through the virtue of humility. Humility. With God's grace, we can learn to love better. Maybe not perfectly, but we all can learn to love better than we are now. This commandment of love is the foundation of Jesus' gospel message, right? Through Jesus and his teachings, we're all here together at this church, St. Mary, for his amazing love. Praising God and worshiping God today, right, in this Mass, for God's amazing love. Praising God for his beautiful, amazing grace, the grace that converts our hearts and minds. This amazing, amazing grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Love one another.